All right, so I'm going to show you guys, like I said before, how to take the next step with your project, and I'm going to show you how to add the shapes to your tile. Now, as you can see on my table, I have a lot more things here. There's going to be, and all of this stuff is basically going to be located over on the counter. So I have a bin full of like cookie cutters with a lot of different shapes in it. So I have triangles, rectangles, circles, and squares. And then I have a bin full of like clay tools, okay, that have a lot of different purposes and uses for them. So you may not use them necessarily right now, but these are definitely going to be things that you're going to be picking up at some point, okay? So there are the tools and stuff. Now, if you guys look at, if you notice some of these cookie cutters, it may not be the exact shape or size that you want. If it's not the exact shape and size that you need, then you can definitely create your own. So you don't have to feel like you have to use these. These are just here if you think it would work for your design, okay? I'm going to explain these dowel sticks here real soon, but I am going to use those today. And then the other thing that's new is this little container. So each table is going to have a container of slips. So this is the slip that I was talking about when we did our vocabulary. So this is basically clay. It's the same thing, clay, but it just has more water mixed in with it. This is going to be our glue when we're adding two pieces together. So this is kind of like a really thick milkshake consistency, and I'll show you how to use that here in just a minute, okay? So here's my slab that I made the other day. And if you guys notice, I switched to a larger bag. Everybody's going to be getting a larger bag because it took me all of about 5 seconds to realize that these bags probably aren't going to be big enough for long. So we're going to switch to the bigger bags here soon. All right, so here's my tile. So looks pretty good. It's just, some finger marks and stuff like that on them, but that's stuff that I can easily kind of smooth out and get rid of later. And then I have my design here. So before, when I rolled out this slab, I used 1/2-inch dowel sticks, okay? This is the only time we're gonna use these dowel sticks is to make our base, okay? Anytime we're making another slab, you're gonna be making slabs for your shapes, you're gonna be using the thinner ones, okay? So these are 1/4-inch dowel sticks, so they are half the size of the 1/2-inch. All right, so we're going to be using the 1/4-inch. The reason why is because one of the things that you do not want to happen with clay is that you have areas that are really super thick in your design. If you have areas that are really super thick, what happens a lot of times is that there's more chance of things to go wrong. So for example, it's going to take longer for the clay to dry out in those areas, which means that it could be drying out inconsistently. So if you have thin and thick areas, the thin areas are going to dry out faster than the thick. When that happens, cracks happen. The other thing is too, thicker amounts of clay mean more chance that there could be like air bubbles trapped in there. So we want to avoid that. So you're only going to use this again when you're making your base. You're going to be using the smaller dowel sticks for basically everything else, for every other slab that you're going to make. So I'm going to get those. I'm going to grab some clay out of my bag here. I'm just going to start with this much. Now, when you're starting with your shapes, you're probably going to wonder, what shape should I start with first? Should I start with my big one, my small one, my medium? I think really it's going to be different for everybody. So for me, I'm probably going to start with my big one first because I do have things that are on, I have my other two, this medium-sized triangles on top of it. So I'm probably going to start with the big one anyways, just because it is on the bottom. So remember, whenever you get new clay, you always need to wedge it, okay? So when you wedge it, again, you are going to use the midi parts of your thumb. This is the exact same thing that I did yesterday when I made my base, okay? So I'm going to do this, I kind of have a little routine. I wedge it about 3 times, and then I kind of roll it on itself, and then I turn it and rotate it and do it again. And this just kind of, in my mind, ensures that it's getting well mixed and well wedged, okay? Now this is a lot easier to do over there just because you have the wall so the board doesn't scoot or move on you. A lot harder to do on the table, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of smushing the clay, pushing the clay into itself to mix it up. Again, you get good at this, you can go home and make some pizza. Homemade pizza. All right. So remember that when you wedge, is there an exact number of times you need to do this? That's right? No. So there's no way, there's no number or amount of time that I could tell you that would ensure that you've wedged enough. Basically what you want to do is just wedge it till you feel like it's mixed really well. If you are looking for a number of times to do it, 10. Do it 10 times. So this would be 1, 2, 3, okay? I've definitely priority done it 10 times. So the other thing, remember that when you wedge clay, you look at your clay, you're gonna see that it's kind of rolled on itself. You're gonna see these like kind of breaks and cracks and see that's perfectly fine and normal. So after I stop wedging or finish wedging, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my clay, I'm gonna make it into somewhat of a block, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that. Once I do that, then I'm gonna take my fist and I'm gonna go ahead and just start making this a little bit thinner. Now when I do this, again, I still wanna make sure that I'm doing this consistently. So I'm not like really hitting the clay hard. I'm not creating big divots or holes in this. I wanna keep this as consistent as I possibly can. I'm just trying to save myself time with the rolling pin. So I'll do that for a little bit. I do like to flip it every once in a while because again, I'm trying to keep things consistent. So remember, clay likes consistency. And I'm just trying to make it as much of a circle as I can. It does not have to be perfect again. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start rolling it out. So remember that for our shapes, I'm gonna move this over here, you're gonna use the smaller dowel sticks, okay? Because again, we don't want our clay to get too thick. So I'm going to start in the middle and I'm just gonna rock back and forth in the middle. As you can see, I'm not going all the way to the end of the clay. Just kind of rocking back and forth. You always wanna make sure that your rolling pin is on top of those dowel sticks. I'm gonna do that for a little bit. And then again, I'm gonna turn it just so I can get hopefully a circle-ish shape. Again, I'm gonna start in the middle and just kind of rock back and forth in the middle. And when I start rolling, I don't really put a lot of pressure or push down a lot on the rolling pin until I feel like I'm kind of getting to the end. Yeah, so now I'm kind of getting to the end, so I am going to push down pretty hard. And you can always move these dowel sticks. There we go. And again, your goal is that your clay is the same thickness as your dowel sticks. That's when you know you're done. And you can kind of look at it from the side to see. I think I need to roll out this a little bit. All right, so it looks pretty good. Okay, I might be able to get two shapes out of this, I don't know. So if you guys look at my design, I don't exactly have equilateral triangles. So this is an equilateral triangle. Each side is the same. Mine are not, these are isosceles. If you guys remember geometry, apparently I do, okay? So I'm going to just design my own triangles. Now, when I do this, I could if I wanted to. I could measure this. And I do want to make it a little bit bigger because my design is smaller than my tile. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to take my ruler here. And there are rulers over there at each station. And I'm just going to use my knife, and I'm not going to cut right now. I'm going to just draw. So I'm just going to very lightly draw a line with my knife into the clay like that so I can see it. So that if I don't like it, when I'm finished with it, I can just take my finger, go over it, and do it again, okay? So I'm just going to kind of basically guess at this. I don't think I'm going to get 2 triangles out of this. I'll have to roll another slab. And then connect them. Let's see what this looks like. Again, I'm just using the knife to basically draw into the clay, just to see. Okay, I like it. I'll use it. Okay, so if I like it, then I'm going to just use this knife, or I'm going to use the ruler again now, but I'm going to use it as a straight edge. I'm just going to use it to help me guide my knife so I get a nice, clean, nice and neat cut. I'm just going to cut this out. I don't know, I might be able to get another triangle out of this piece. Let's save that. We'll see. So I might be able to reuse those for another one. Now, again, the tricky part is always getting this off the board without kind of changing it. So I'm going to use my knife here in the hopes of kind of pulling this up. This is going to be challenging. There we go. Just need to get it started. All right, so now I need to add it to my tile. So for right now, what I'm gonna do, I just wanna figure out where it's gonna go. And then I'm just gonna kind of mark with my knife again where I want this to go so I know where to put it. So I've kind of made marks on my tile where I'm going to place that. So now comes the adding part, okay? So when you add 2 pieces of clay together, you need to score and slip it. So scoring basically means that I'm cutting into the surface of the clay. You guys can see I'm not being gentle with this, okay? I'm really putting some pretty deep cuts into the bottom here. At the same time, I don't want to mess up my shape, so it is a delicate balance between the two. And I'm crossing over my cuts. Okay, you can see, all right, how many cuts I have on the bottom of this, all right? I need to do the same thing to where I'm going to put the clay, okay? So I'm going to use those marks. I'm gonna cut on top. Now here's the thing, guys, if you do not score and slip well enough, these pieces are either gonna break off or they're going to just kind of separate from the tile. They won't stick, okay? So you gotta make sure, you can see how much I cut that up, okay? That's scoring. Slip is your glue. So again, this is your slip. This is basically just clay mixed with hot water. So it's kind of like what I would call a milkshake consistency. I'm just gonna grab some of this, put it onto the area that I scored. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna act like the glue, okay? And I'm gonna put a little bit on this piece. I don't necessarily need to put it all over because I've got it on there. So what it does is, now here's the thing, a lot of people think that if they have something going wrong with their clay, the answer is to add water to their clay to solve their problem. Water actually causes clay to break down. So a lot of times the water can be the problem. So water is not always the solution to your problem. It could be the problem. All right, so now I'm gonna reposition this. And if you guys look, I haven't pushed it down yet. So my score marks are going past where where my triangle needs to go, and that's perfectly fine. I would rather that be the case because I don't want to get stuck with not having areas where it's not scored. So now when I'm ready to really join these two pieces together, I need to be very gentle. I don't want to smash this so much into my tile base that everything just kind of gets squished. I don't want to make my tile base any thinner than it already is, and I don't want to make my triangle any thinner than it already is. So what I'm going to do is just very gently press down on this. And I'm using my other finger to support that edge so that it doesn't just kind of get smushed out. I can again use like kind of my knife to kind of keep things nice and neat. I can use some of these other tools also too to help me. And then I can go in and just kind of take stuff, and I'm just going to kind of clean it up a little bit. And I've got my piece on here, okay? All right. Clean that up a little bit. Now, I've got these pieces hanging off of this. I am going to trim the stuff off. So I'm just going to take my knife and just kind of trim off those pieces that are going off the edge. I could flip it upside down, but I'm afraid to move the tile. Cut that piece off, and then cut this piece off. Again, you want to kind of clean up your stuff as you go. All right, so this is kind of what it looks like now. Okay, you see that? Then my next thing would be to move on to whatever is my next shape. All right, so do you guys have any questions? Any questions? All right, so what you guys are gonna do, we still have people that need to make their base, so those people are gonna go first, and then once we get everybody's base done, then everyone will get a chance to start adding their shapes on, okay? While I'm over there helping people wedge their clay, I'm getting clay all over me. I know it's on my nose now. I'm gonna be checking designs, all right? And then if I think your design's good to go, I'm gonna put a check mark on it and you're ready to move on, all right? So there you go, that's it.